Hey guys, welcome to Draw Near Moment. My name is Titus. It's that moment of the week where we draw near to Christ together. Let's talk about full throttle focus. Let's get to it. So maybe you're like me and you've said something like this. I wish I could blank, I wish I could write a book or record an album, or maybe something like get out of debt, get healthy, lose a lot of weight, or start a business. And maybe you've had that frustrating thing like me where you've met somebody who's done that thing. You meet them and it's like, oh yeah, I write books. It's like, you kind of want to be happy for them, but you kind of hate their guts at the same time. It's like, oh, you wrote a book. It's just that moment of frustration and jealousy. We get so jealous of people sometimes, but here's the truth. A lot of times, we don't want to do what it took them to get what they have. Like, here's the thing that you want, and here's all the effort that person put forward to get the thing. But we don't want to do the effort. We just want the thing. And that's true. Now, I'm reminded by this because there's a guy in the Bible named Elisha, and it's in 1 Kings 19:19, if you're curious. And he actually finds out that God's going to use him to be like the next prophet. He's going to be the next guy after Elijah. Now, if you ever read about Elijah, Elijah's a big deal. He did some really cool stuff, and he's going to be that next guy in line, and he gets pumped. He gets excited. It's like, what? Like, this is amazing. This is so freaking cool. Like, I'm so excited about this. That he does something a little bit crazy. And let's just take a look at it. It's in 1 Kings 19:21. And so this is right after Elijah and Elisha have the conversation, and he finds out, like, oh my gosh, like, God's going to use me to do awesome things. I'm going to get to be a prophet. This is going to be great. And it says, so Elisha left him and went back. He took his yoke of oxen and slaughtered them. He burned the plowing equipment to cook the meat, and he gave it to the people, and they ate. And then he set out to follow Elijah and became his attendant. Now, he did something a little crazy. You have to understand, like, the stuff that he was burning, the cows, these aren't like normal, like, milking cows or whatever. These are working cows, and the equipment he's using was probably not cheap. Like, this was his livelihood. He was basically burning and cooking his career. He was putting all of that aside because he had something that he wanted to do, that God had called him to do, and he was so excited that he never wanted to lose focus. He never wanted to have a moment in his life where he looked back and it's like, oh man, this isn't really working out. Let me go back and plow the fields. I don't know about this. He wanted that moment of full throttle focus because he knew that if he had that stuff, or if he sold that stuff and he had all that money, he would have something else to come back to. Now that's so inspiring to me, because to do something awesome requires something of you. Now, I was kind of reminded about this recently. A friend of mine came over to our house the other day, and to me and Leslie and a lot of our friends were over, and she was really excited because she had just illustrated a book, and it was a children's book. She's like an artist, and it was like her very first book, and it's a pretty awesome book. It's called Animals and Nativity. We bought one right here. It's pretty awesome. I'll have some links in the description if you want to check it out. But anyway, really awesome book. And so I'm looking through this thing, and it's beautiful art, just awesome stuff. And I finally stopped and asked her, Amber, what did this require of you? What was the thing? How long did this take? And she's like, it took a month. And I was like, oh, just a month? That's not that long. She's like, no, you don't understand. A month, a full-blown month. Get up in the morning, book. Go to sleep at night. Get up in the morning, book, coffee, go to sleep at night. Every single day for an entire month. It took a moment of intensity where she put aside her school. She kind of took some time off school. She put aside any other career stuff going on. She put aside, maybe even hanging out with her friends to go after this thing. And I was so inspired about that because I'm like, what could I do if I had that kind of focus? Now, obviously, we can't just push our life aside a lot of times. It's a little bit easier, when you're in college, but when you're older and you have kids, you can't quite do that. But what if I had that kind of just intensity, that kind of focus? I don't know if you ever heard this, but if you focus light into a laser beam, it could cut through steel. Just focusing something as simple as just light can do that. Another cool thing is I think about a river going through rock. Rock can be worn down by something as gentle as water. just from relentless water running over it. And that's just an awesome thing to think about. Like, what could I do if I had that kind of focus? So I don't know about you, but there's a lot of things in my life, like TV and just stuff that kind of gets in the way. And maybe for you, it means like, I need to delete some apps off my phone, you know? Let's be honest, we get in kind of the scroll method sometimes where we just start scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. Maybe you need to delete an app or two that are taking away your focus, because if you want to go after your dreams, it's going to require something of you. Maybe you need to downgrade your cable package. Maybe you don't need the HBO and the movie packages and all that stuff. Maybe you need to downgrade because it will help you focus, and maybe read a couple books instead to learn something of value. Maybe you need to sell some video games at GameStop if that's your thing, or maybe you can be cool like Elisha and go outside and burn them. That would be cool. But here's the thing: life is full of trades, and what are you willing to trade for that thing that God has put inside of you? And here's the cool thing about all this: the more extreme the dream, the more extreme the focus. If your dream is something big, you have to have that extra level of focus. If you are $100,000 in debt, you need to sell some stuff. You may need to sell your real nice Lexus or whatever your car is and get a beater for a while. Maybe you even need to sell a home. It requires something super big to go after this. Maybe if you need to lose 300 pounds, that's a lot of weight. It's going to require, you can't just casually, lose 300 pounds. That's going to take a level of intensity and effort. If you want to write a New York Times bestseller, it's going to require a lot of phone calls and a lot of just polishing a book and just ideas where you just drain your brain into a book. The more extreme the dream, the more extreme the focus. I love this quote. Luck, a lot of times, looks like hard work. A lot of times what we confuse as luck is really just hard work. What are you willing to trade for that thing? That thing that God has put inside you that you want to happen. Because if God has put you on this earth to do something, and I believe He has, if you're breathing, God's got something for you to do, and you want to go after it, you better believe it's going to require full throttle focus. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Draw Near Moment. And you may think it's a little bit weird that I thank you guys every time, but if you've taken some time out of your day to spend some time just watching something that I made, I appreciate that, and I just want to thank you. Thank you so much for doing it. And if you want to stay in tune with what I do, I got a Twitter, I got a YouTube channel. You can just check out all that stuff below. And again, thank you so much, and join me next week for another episode of Draw Near Moment. I'm going to be talking about Thanksgiving. Now, it's not going to be a traditional Thanksgiving message, but I think you guys are going to like it. So come join me next week. It comes out every Wednesday. And yeah, I'll see you then.